Welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sports Line. Thanks for watching the show. We have a great sports day in Pittsburgh. Of course, every day is, and the Penguins are still undefeated, and they're going to be playing. Don't switch that dial till 7:38, so you got to listen to Pittsburgh Sports Line for a little while. Al Levine, the talking machine here, Chip, the Prophet Hayner, Smoking Jim Frazier, and Big Mike Butera. And we start out, as always, with what's on our mind. So we're going to Big Mike. What's on your mind?
It's a hockey night in Pittsburgh. Therefore, let's talk sports, guys. And I want to tell you what, those hockeys are off the charts. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We didn't even start. This is something. Every day in life, you learn things. I mean, I certainly know that I do.
What'd you learn today?
Actually, it's a Sunday. I was telling Chip that I prepared this on Sunday, but this is pretty awesome because the term hero, when it pertains to sports figures, is much too often used and much too loosely. Now, I happen to personally think that Jackie Robinson was a heroic figure, and not so much because of what he did to break the color line in baseball, but he was also a military guy. I think he was a captain. Dev, would you concur on that? And I think he served in...
Devin's our cameraman. He really can't talk on air.
Would you concur on that, you guys?
Yes.
And I think he was in the Second World War, and I think also he was not that this is heroic, but he was a four-letterman at UCLA, prior to. So yeah, because he served in the war and because he went through all types of jazz with breaking a color barrier, I do consider him a heroic type of person. Now, what I found out, another heroic baseball player, and this is even preceding Jackie Robinson, and that was Hank Greenberg of the Detroit Tigers. Hank was born and raised in the Bronx, and we all know that the five boroughs in New York City are kind of a melting pot. So you can be Italian American, you can be whatever you want, and you're probably amongst your neighborhoods, and you're fairly comfortable amongst themselves. Well, when Hank went to the Detroit Tigers in the 30s, Hank being Jewish was highly discriminated against, and myself being Italian American and Roman Catholic at that, I've never experienced that jazz, but Hank did experience that jazz. And Hank also spent 4 years in the military. And he's a two-time world champion with the Tigers. He experienced, and I never would have thought of this. I mean, he experienced, and I'll read it, a steady diet of bigotry and abuse while playing on the ball field. And he was not a color guy. I mean, he was a white guy, but the religious abuse that went on is just boggles my mind. Now, here's the interesting part.
I found all of that interesting.
No, this gets better. I'll tell you, this really gets better. Henry Ford, Detroit, Michigan. Henry Ford.
What position did he play?
Ford. He was a CEO. Henry Ford.
Sure, he wasn't a tight end.
That's a shout out to Magic Johnson's. Henry Ford had a publication called the Dearborn Independent, and it was a vehicle for anti-Semitic attacks. From his articles, Ford made pamphlets entitled The International Jew. Ford alleged that there existed Jewish conspiracy to bring down Christianity. And it gets better. Adolf Hitler told the Detroit News in an interview prior to World War II, "I regard Henry Ford as my inspiration." I can't believe it. And then it goes further. There was a Roman Catholic priest, and I admitted to being Roman Catholic, Father Charles Coughlin, no relation to the other guy, also was an anti-Semite in his broadcast in Detroit. Now, again, the point is that there are some heroes in sports, and Hank Greenberg was certainly one of them. That's it, guys.
Very well spoken, Mike. Very well spoken.
I read it from the internet.
Very, very well spoken.
If you would have called me up, I could have gave you that little consult because I've read numerous books on that. And it even gets worse about the characters that you mentioned, and it goes higher up. So, just so you know. But that'll be on the history show that we do when I produce a show during daylight hours, and we tape that. So we'll talk some history then. And if you want some conspiracy theories, we'll cover that too. But let's move on with.
I mean, that's really.
We'll talk off air if you got a couple hours or days.
I'd love to.
Okay, sounds great. Smoking Jim, after that little pause, we're trying to get you a little fired up because Big Mike has a theory that you get all jazzed up because of him. So what's on your mind, Smoking Jim?
Well, that is true. Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And again, if you want the green, go see Levine. But, hey.
Give me that back.
Oh, I like that.
Give me that back. I'll get you another one.
Is there any ink in it?
My spotlight player of the week is there is a dog in the hunt. I tell you what, I had to search the country high and low to find a white guy named Marcus, but I did. Marcus Hunt, a defensive end from SMU, is my spotlight player of the week. He's 6'8", 285 pounds, runs the 40 in 4.5. He's a track All-American, holds the junior national world record in the shot put, discus, and hammer throw. Outstanding football player. Steeler fans, if you like Brett Kiesel, you're going to love Marcus Hunt. Outstanding player. At 6'8" at the combines, he recorded 225 pounds, 38 reps, which is almost impossible for a guy with arms that long. I project him to eventually be a 315 to 320 pound player in the National Football League, still able to run a 4.6 40. And don't forget, the all-time leading sackers in NFL history are two defensive ends. Reggie White, Bruce Smith, both of those guys played in the 3-4 defense. Pittsburgh Steelers pulled the trigger on my man. There's a dog in the hunt, Marcus Hunt from SMU.
Thanks, Smoking Jim. Appreciate the spotlight there. Now we'll go to... Now we'll go to Chip the Prophet Hayner. What's on your mind?
That's on my mind. Smoking Jim, that doesn't sound like a dog in the hunt. That sounds like an oak tree. And I bet you he sounds about as sturdy as one. But, and I've said this once, and I said it 1,000 times, that the man to my left here is a tough act to follow. And I have to stay on my toes on Tuesday evenings. And so what's on my mind? One of our favorite administrators is on my mind. The administrator's name is Mark Emmert. Are you familiar with Mark Emmert?
Yeah.
He's the head of the NCAA, and he generally, adjudicates people without evidence or without cause, just at an inference of any kind of impropriety. Look what happened to how well he's handled the Penn State scandal. He's made a big mess of that. He's also completely made a mess out of the scandal in Miami, involving the guy that ran the Ponzi scheme that was paying the athletes, the coaches, et al. But the thing that upsets me the most, okay, is something that I read in a paper today, and I have heard nothing from Mr. Emmert on this, and I don't understand why he hasn't acted. But the Pac-12 commissioner came out in defense of the coordinator of officials, Ed Rush. Now, you may wonder who these people are. Well, watching the season-ending tournaments for each of the conferences, UCLA and Arizona were playing. And Arizona is coached by Sean Miller, Blackhawks own, and a Pitt product. And he ended up getting a technical foul at a crucial point in the game, and couldn't understand why he got this technical foul, because all he said repeatedly to the referee was, he touched the ball. And he touched the ball. He didn't use any foul language. He said he touched the ball. Well, here it comes out that the coordinator of officials said in a meeting prior to the game that he would give $5,000 to any official that would slap Sean Miller with a technical foul during the course of the game. Now, supposedly this was something that he said tongue-in-cheek. In a critical part of the game, lo and behold, Sean Miller gets a technical foul that affected the outcome of the game. Now, the Pac-12 commissioner, Larry Scott, defends Ed Rush, and he said, I don't see any reason why we should consider firing him. Whether he said it as a joke or whether he didn't say it, just the impropriety of the officials paints them, and he should be terminated immediately. And the commissioner of the Pac-12 for defending him ought to be terminated as well. Where's Mark Emmert? You got officials who are supposed to be beyond reproach making comments or jokes like this, and it stinks from the head up. And usually we've been finding out that where there's smoke, there's fire.
Whoa, no pun intended. Smoke.
But that's what's on my mind. I want to know where Mr. Emmerich is and why he didn't land on them.
That's good.
Excellent, Chip. I hate to revisit before the revisit, but if anybody checks out Emmerich and what he did in his previous job, I think it was at North Carolina. Wasn't he down there? Wherever he was, he sort of covered up some bad things on campus. So you guys can check that out. Google it, and don't look it up in your Funkin' Wagnalls, because the old school won't have that information. But next week you can tell me what he hid and what he did. All right? Big Mike?
I'd comment, but
No, I got to finally get
It's
Mike.
not my turn yet.
Try not to interrupt me
I
until
know
I
the
start.
Until he's done with 6 infomercials.
All right, well, we got to get one of the favorites here because we're going to have a guest at the Sips Sports Bar. You're talking about the Butler Wobble. Dave Crack, who is helping to sponsor this, is going to tell you all about it. And here's why you should come out there. It's Krack. And he wants to meet Smokin' Jim Frazier, Chip Hayner, and if Big Mike wants to come down, he's watched the shows. He's bringing at least 2 unicycles. So, Smokin' Jim, we may see how your balance is. Now, this event will be July 21st to the 27th. It's actually a bigger deal than I thought because they usually don't come this far east with unicycles, so go figure it out. Dave's a real great guy. And let's go to the Mr. Golden Gloves boxing tournament with Jimmy Savetic. He's going to be a guest on our show at Sips Sports Bar, so I wanted to give a shout out to all of you boxing fans that have seen some of the boxing on Bethel Park TV. I'll show this again. You guys can get a little close up here. BPTV is going to be out in, where is that city? Downtown Monroeville?
God's country.
On the 14th. So we'll be out there. You have Al Levine, the Talking Machine, and Smokin' Jim Frazier, and BPTV. So we'll be broadcasting that for your pleasure, folks here, and we'll get boxing out there. Then we have the Novus Cadet and Hall of Fame dinner at the Royal Place Restaurant on the 20th. You want to go there because our guest from the week before, Andy Sebastian, is going to be the MC. You're going to have Mike Bayens get inducted into the Hall of Fame. There's another friend. Oh, by the way, we are up to 211 likes on Pittsburgh Sportsline. So a new record there. Thanks to Mike D, who missed last night. I was calling him, texting him, and guess what? He got worn out because of the Pirate game. He was so disgusted by the game that he fell asleep and missed our show. So he does apologize, and he will get back to us. But that's some of the updates, folks. I could talk sports with the NCAA and the tournament, but we'll touch a little bit on that later. I could talk about the Pirates, but I prefer not to right now. I'm going to try to stay hopeful, and I'm not going to stir up Chip's Kool-Aid. So we'll revisit some of the thoughts that we had on anything you guys said. So, Big Mike, I'll kick it off to you. Do you want to revisit anything?
Yeah, sure do. But before I do it, I forgot to give the shout out, and I'll tell you why. Is because you said we're up to 211 likes. Well, due to the effort of Rick and Loretti in Frankfort, Illinois, we have not only incorporated a gang load of I didn't mean to say that in Chicago, but nonetheless.
Which side of Chicago?
We've got a lot of people from the Chi-Town area, and we've got 5 lobbyists from D.C., whom I had the distinct pleasure of traveling to Tuscany with a few years ago.
Are they sports lobbyists for like public access TV?
Actually, one is involved in the television effort, I'm fairly certain. But that's pretty cool. And that's one of the reasons why we're up to 211. So thanks everybody out there, especially Rick and Loretti. And what I wanted to...
Did you like us yet?
I don't know how to do that thing.
See, we would be at 212, folks.
Like this.
You see, click, click, click. You're too smart to be ignorant of that.
I'll give it my best effort.
Okay.
I wanted to ask Chip, the guy, Mark Emmerich?
Yes.
Did you say he's NCAA?
He's the head of the NCAA, and he's the person responsible for administering justice, or what he considers
Isn't he
justice.
going to have his hands full with the guy from Rutgers now? The guy that's what's this guy's name? Rice or something like that. Isn't this the football?
Mike Rice, you mean the former coach of what was it? Robert Morris, yeah.
Isn't he at Rutgers now? And he just got caught on the YouTube thing with physically abusing some of the players. And
I saw something about that, but the point being with him is that if it's high profile and he can take some kind of higher moral stand, he's going to go ahead and administer justice in the way he sees fit, but he's not fair across the board. And I think something that assaults the integrity of the game needs to be addressed, whether it was in jest or not.
He's stunting like his daddy. Don't forget his dad was a great, great coach that loved to put his hands on his players. Don't forget that his dad, little history about Mike Rice, his dad was the head coach of Valley High School in the mid-'70s. And he had one of the best players in the country, a parade All-American named B.B. Flannery.
Yes, sir.
B.B. was recruited by everybody in the country, but B.B. decided to go to Duquesne University with only, he had one thing in mind. If Duquesne recruited him, they had to take his high school coach, and Duquesne folded like a card table and hired his Valley High School head coach to be the head coach of Duquesne University. And BB went on to have a great, great career. And like I said before, if you want to win in college, you got to treat your star players different from everybody else.
Maybe Paul Chris didn't get that message.
Oh, we'll touch on that a little bit later. We're still revisiting. We're just revisiting. And that's what Rice got in trouble with, a little touching there. So maybe we'll just visit that segment. Okay? No touching at that end. Well, I think we passed on all this revisitation there. And we usually talk about Pittsburgh Sports Line at Sips Sports Bar. We had another great show there, a lot of great guests. We had Jody from Slick Move Guide. She tells the athletes how to move and do it without stress, save money, and everything else. She has a great checklist. I've read the book. Matter of fact, Chip and Stephanie Hayner are proud homeowners who use the book to save a lot of money, and they cut the stress down like you can't believe. Look how relaxed he is. He's a new homeowner, too.
Yeah, the gray on my hair wasn't from the move. I can assure you.
And then we also had a special guest from Sips Sports Bar, who we found out her dad, Ed Caputo, is a coach, travel agent, well-known guy in the city who a lot of us know or knew. And Tina was great. I just sent her the email with the show. The show just went up on air. So we got it out there. Thanks to Dave Cable for putting our Sips Sports Bar show up there. We have some great photos in there. Aaron Ward was taking the camera and clicking off all of the photos that they have there. You should see the highlights and how it's put up in the graphics. So that's one of the things. Check that out. We're on Verizon everywhere. Comcast 7 in Bethel Park, 32 on Verizon everywhere. And the reason I don't publicize it that much is because a lot of the city, they don't have FiOS. So some are seeing us, some aren't. And on YouTube, you can always see us. And if you haven't heard me mention Pittsburgh Sports Line on Facebook, go there. And it's
Click the like button.
Right, Big Mike. Big Mike, click like. And it's a great venue out there. They really treat you nice. It's a great location. Some of the people that are coming around, they want to come back. They didn't realize how nice the place is. And we're getting a lot of great feedback from the neighborhood there with people showing up at the bar now. And they have a lot of different specials and things out there. So see you next Monday about 7:30. Maybe you'll be a guest and get 5 minutes.
At the corner of Canton and West Liberty Avenue.
3024.
Canton.
Pittsburgh, PA,
Canton and West Liberty.
15216.
I can never find it. I'm trying to push that button on my GPS. I just
Well, you know what? Hit the like button on Pittsburgh Sports Line.
and you kids out there do the same.
No, and they know, believe me, they've already told me. And Little Z keeps helping us, and Big Mike D.
I tell you what, Lil Z brought in Tia yesterday. He got good taste in women on Lil Z.
Yeah, we'll talk off air about that, folks. Let's go to one of my favorite segments, Fiction and Fact from Smokin' Jim's Almanac.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And I tell you what, we're going to go back a ways. You know, I let everybody know last week when we talked about Bubba Holmes versus Tony Dorsett, and how Bubba Holmes went to Minnesota because blacks couldn't really play in the southern schools. Up until 1970, Alabama never had a black player. And Bear Bryant's first recruit was John Mitchell from the Pittsburgh Steelers. You couldn't do any better than that, Bear! But and also that year in 1970 at Florida State, the first black player in Florida State history wasn't Deion Sanders, wasn't Charlie Ward. It was actually Pittsburgh Steelers' own J.T. Thomas. Wow. J.T. Thomas was the first black recruit. At that time in 1970, freshmen could play varsity as a freshman, and J.T. Thomas was running around with the big afro, with the afro pick in the back of his head with the little fist on it, and just happens to be he got along with all his teammates. He got along with all of his coaches except for one. The defensive coordinator didn't seem to like him. Defensive coordinator at that time at Florida State was none other than Bill Parcells. Wow. And so J.T. Thomas says Bill Parcells used to walk in the locker room, just grit on him. Just look at him, wouldn't speak to him, wouldn't give him no credit for anything. And so J.T. Thomas, the day before his opening game against Duke University, all the media had J.T. Thomas gathered around, and it was interviewing because this is going to be the first black player ever in Florida State history. So J.T. Thomas is doing the interview. Bill Parcells is 50 yards away with some of the other players. So Bill Parcells starts yelling out, Thomas, Thomas, Thomas. So J.T. Thomas turns around. Yes, coach. He said, give me your number so I can call your mama. So your mama can send up all your high school press clippings, because so far you ain't showed me blankety blank blank. You ain't done blankety blank blank here yet. J.T. Thomas says he got so mad. He said he didn't think nothing about being the first black player. He didn't think nothing about Duke. He says he was just mad. He goes to his room. He's fired up. He's focused on the game. And at the end of the game, J.T. Thomas blocked a field goal to preserve that game. Wow. And he says to this day he don't like Bill Parcells, but he understood the psychology that Bill Parcells was trying to use, which he still uses to this day. He wanted J.T. Thomas to get off the focus on being the first black player, all that focus, and just focus on the game and being part of that team. And J.T. Thomas went on to be a track and football All-American at Florida State and a first-round draft pick at the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's your fiction and facts from Smoking Jim's Almanac. J.T. Thomas versus my man Bill Parcells is going into the Hall of Fame. J.T. won't be there.
He was my pick. Really, he was.
Nice
feature.
Absolutely
Excellent.
nice. Because J.T. Thomas,
What do you expect from this guy?
beat Bill Parcells to wearing some of that Super Bowl hardware. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bill Parcells had to wait a few years to get one.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now we go to another one of my favorite segments, Chips Trivia Time.
Well, thank you, Alan. And what I try to do each week with my trivia, bits of useless information, is put it in perspective to what the most recent sporting events are. And we've got the Final Four coming up this weekend. And my bracket has been busted to pieces, as is mostly everybody else's. Syracuse. We've got Syracuse, the Wichita State Shockers. We've got Louisville, and what is the other one? Michigan Wolverines. Okay, so I mean, three of the four teams, I had no idea that they were going to make it. Did say at the beginning of the tournament this year it's wide open. And even though Louisville is the odds-on favorite and was at the beginning of the tournament, keep tuned. Stay tuned. But here are my bits of useless information in regards to the NCAA Final Four. The last player with a triple-double in the Final Four was a player, and I'd never heard of him before, and I was remiss because I didn't put down the year that he did this. A ball player from Michigan State University. His name was Draymond Green. Okay? The only player with 3 MVPs in the Final Four in history was a gentleman that made the Hall of Fame with a name other than the name he had when he was in college.
Who else?
Lou Al
That's easy.
Cindor,
That was easy.
otherwise known as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He won 3 MVPs back to back. The last team to win the NCAA tournament, the national title, without the color blue in their uniform was the University of Connecticut.
Wow.
There's no blue in Connecticut? Wow. I don't know.
And there's only been one number 7 seed to make the Final Four, and that was the University of Virginia the year after Ralph Sampson graduated.
Wow.
Now, this year, the Wichita State Shockers are the first number 9 seed to make the NCAA tournament, so, keep an eye on that. The last team to win the NCAA title by 1 point, Michigan Wolverines in 1989. Head coach Steve Fisher, who took over partway through the season after the head coach got fired. The last player to score 50 points in the NCAA tournament was David Robinson,
North Carolina.
the Admiral.
Against
And last
UCLA.
but not least, the leading scorer in NCAA tournament history was Austin Carr. Austin Carr recorded 3 50-point games in the NCAA tournament, more than anybody else, and he still, to this day, holds the record for most points scored in an NCAA tournament game at 61, and he did that in 1970.
Chip, you're on fire. That's why it's one of my favorite segments.
So,
None of it's useless.
No, I like to make sure that, the trivia coincides with what's going on. Last week we had the start of the baseball season come up, and next week I'll pull another rabbit out of my hat.
If they don't appreciate it out there, Chief, I know you appreciate it. We missed you at Sip Sports Bar last night.
I sure did.
But we know you appreciate that stuff. Finish
So
your
did
dessert
Tracy.
now.
So did Tracy.
Yeah, that she did. She even said that. Where's Chuck? I mean, Chief. So, she did miss him. Now you were talking baseball. We got to get into Bucko baseball talk here.
I know, it's, the bandwagon, the wheels fell off it,
No, not with one game.
Oh, well, you know what?
No.
There's one game, and it's funny listening to the radio talk shows, and it just makes me laugh. Everybody's like, see, I told you they were going to lose this year. Actually, when you look at the way the game fell out, I mean, it was actually a very well-pitched and a very well-played game. A.J. Burnett pitched an amazing game, 5 2/3 innings. He struck out 10 batters. That's pretty impressive numbers. He threw really one bad pitch in the first inning, and it ended up over the wall in right field. And other than that one bad pitch, I mean, they'd probably still be playing, and the game would be tied 1-1. I mentioned this before, back when we started in spring training, and they had already mentioned the starting pitchers for opening day. And Jeff Smarsda, who was an outstanding wide receiver for the University of Notre Dame, decided to take the path into baseball, and I can understand why, even though he could have been an all-pro wide receiver. You look at a football career, 3 to 4 years, give or take, or he could probably pay 10 or 15 years in the major leagues. And I'm going to make this bold prediction because last year was his first year as a starting pitcher, and they had him on an innings limit last year, much the same as Steven Strasburg. They pulled the reins in on him in the second week of September last year because he hit 175 innings, and that was his first year as a starter. This year, there's no limitations on him. They are going to have him pitch, if he's healthy enough, 200-plus innings. And I do believe that he's probably going to end up one of the top 5 pitchers in the National League this year. The kid's got great stuff, and he's pitched 3 games against the Pirates since the middle of last summer. And I'm telling you what, for whatever reason, he pitches like Cy Young when he pitches against. He throws a 95-plus mile-an-hour fastball, and they said he was throwing a slider in the games yesterday that people just they couldn't even touch
his
it.
curveball was 82 miles an hour, and his
But
changeup were
if you-
around
when
there.
you've
So
got-
when you have a difference like that,
When you can adjust the speed from the low 80s to the mid to high 90s, you're going to keep a lot of hitters guessing. So the Pirates got beat by better pitching yesterday, but on a positive note, the pitching staff that everybody questioned that the Pittsburgh Pirates came north with, they had 15 strikeouts yesterday. Now, there's 27 outs in a baseball game, and if you can get 15 of them by strikeout, I think you got a pretty good pitching staff.
well, here's a thought. If this guy does so great in Pittsburgh, and we like PNC Park, Why don't we just trade for the guy?
Because then he wouldn't be pitching against Pittsburgh.
That's okay. He likes pitching here. It doesn't matter who he's pitching against. It's just the venue. My theory.
Okay, now since we're talking baseball, I want to mention
your
something
team?
interesting about Deion Sanders. Because did you not mention he was Florida State?
Yes, he was.
Now, Deion Sanders, what I found was interesting is, he went both ways. And when
Pardon me?
he played baseball and football. What I didn't know was that he broke in with the Yankees. Not Atlanta and not Cincinnati. It was the Yankees.
You were sleeping for a few years. You're like Rip Van Winkle. You worked so hard that you missed a lot
Well,
of this
and
stuff.
now that you brought up the Yankees, there's another interesting, useless bit of information I stumbled upon. And you look at, people complain about the Pirates and they don't spend any money. And, look at what the Houston Astros put on the field on Sunday night. They were playing, one of the top teams in the American League, the Texas Rangers. The starting payroll for the 25-man roster that the Houston Astros came north with was just under $25 million. And Alex Rodriguez is making $29.5 million, and he may not even play half a season. Wow. I think that's amazing that you got one player on a team that can make more than an entire payroll. And I think that's just that to me that's when the commissioner of baseball needs to step in, just like he should have stepped in when the Miami Marlins had their fire sale. Okay,
Here's Chip's pet peeve, folks.
it is that he should force them to there should be a minimum amount of money that you're allowed to spend. I also think there should be a cap on how much money you can spend. There is one, yes, of course, and the Yankees figure they'll go ahead and pay the luxury tax for having the highest payroll in baseball. The Yankees' payroll this year is going to be $228 million. Now, that's all well and good because the New York Yankees print money. I mean, that place
They make a profit, though, actually.
But, they are not going to even make the playoffs this year, that all works well if they're getting the postseason revenue. But if you look at what the Yankees, are putting on the field right now, other than Robbie Cano, who's worth watching? Derek Jeter's out with his, ankle. Teixeira's out. Granderson's out with a broken arm. You've got A-Rod.
We better let Big Mike rebut some of this. Do you have season tickets, or do you have some tickets to the Yankees this year?
Yes, but that's beside the point. The point I
was
wanted
my
to
point.
the point I wanted to ask about Chip is, or at least to bring it to task on this, Chip, is there is no commissioner of baseball. Okay.
What are you dealing?
Yeah.
Oh, yours is nicer than mine.
It's
Can you get a? Excuse me, Smokey.
Pair
Can
of
you get a-
five hole.
That's a Pirate season ticket holder and the Yankees, and that's on paper, okay?
That's how they make a
There is no
profit.
commissioner of baseball, number one. But number two, or maybe first and foremost, sorry about the forearm, but I'm sure you've been slapped before. Sports money is so out of control. Example, Joe Flacco becomes like the biggest this, that, and the other thing, and he did. He won a Super Bowl. Like 2 weeks later, what was it? Tony Romo, who's won what do you call it? The playoff game.
Oh, to watch our
superseded
show
him.
from
No, but
last
Tony
night.
Romo is now the biggest loser. and the gentleman that's such a great talent evaluator down there in Cowboy Land,
Who?
Jerry the Genius.
Oh, the owner.
The face of the Dallas Cowboys.
The owner who can't
With the
fire
biggest TV
who can't
screen
fire
in
the
the
general manager.
As long as-
What he could if you wanted
He's the
to.
scout coordinator.
Oh.
He hasn't won since he got rid of
Hey,
Jerry
here's a-
Jones.
here's a-
Ever since he got Jimmy Johnson.
Here's a good one. Robinson Cano today, according to he and his peeps, fired Scott Boras as his representative and
His
took
agent.
took on Jay-Z.
Which I find that
Who
kind of
did?
interesting. Yes, he did.
Robinson Cano, Jay-Z, took on Jay-Z as his what do you call it? The
Agent.
agent and marketing manager.
Wow, what, Master P was too busy?
Well, here's the point that's interesting
Wasn't
about
available.
that. Scott Boras is the most despised agent in Major League Baseball because he has brought in more money for his players than anybody in the history of professional sports. And, why you would get rid of Scott Boras when he's going to back a Brinks truck up to your house, and empty the vault. I hope Jay-Z does as well.
Well,
Time will tell.
Cano was the third Yankee in recent history to get rid of Boras. Teixeira and Rodriguez pursued
Why is
him.
that?
I don't know.
You're
Boy.
the man on the inside. Come
Well,
on.
I can.
His
then I can.
negotiating skills, Alan. That's where
I
you.
know. I understand.
That's your forte.
Exactly.
That's
buddy.
your forte.
Okay, how about this, guys? Are you guys aware that this is the 13th year of the annual diversity game in Major League Baseball? I didn't know that till today.
No, I did not know.
It's in Chicago in June of this year. And obviously, diversity is racial. It's actually not diversity. It's the civil rights game, and it's been held in Memphis and Cincinnati and Atlanta. And this year, it's in Chicago. I'm all about equality tonight, guys. I don't know if you recognize the theme, but
Your research has been just unbelievable.
He's breaking the color barrier.
He did a couple times. I'm glad we changed the seating arrangement here with the little angle because we can see how sincere Big Mike is now.
I'm also sincere.
Yeah, I noticed that now.
And guess what? We don't have too much time until Tommy VC goes in the nets tonight.
Who? What's
The
his
Penguins,
VC?
who played an awesome
Raccoon.
game on Saturday, an awesome game, maybe the best hockey game I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Really?
And he's watched four of
I'm
them.
going to tell you
Four
something about
games.
the Penguins. I mean, Ray Shero, tip my hat to you, guy. Picking up Thomas Volkun in the summer as Fleury's backup was a very, very nice piece of work.
Brilliant.
The trades that he made last week strengthened an already strong team. And, you know, you had Paul Martin go down. He's down till sometime in May.
Right.
Sid Crosby's got a broken jaw. Chris Letang's out. And, you know, we're losing all these top players that are, you know, Chris Letang's a Norris Trophy candidate. Sid Crosby's, you know, league MVP candidate. And I'm not worried at all about the Penguins winning number 16 tonight. They're playing the Buffalo Sabres, and they got them down at the console. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow night's Madison Square Garden game, and for us to tie the record at 17, followed up by us setting the record at 18 consecutive wins. But I'm not worried. I mean, you got Fleury back, and you look at Fleury's line. I mean, you know, at Malkin's line. You look at Malkin's line. You got Malkin on one side, Neal and Agilnia. Okay, and then you know you follow that up with the you know the second line with who is it? Matt Cook, Morrow, and
Neil.
no, not Neal.
He's with Malkin. Oh,
But I mean, you know, we've got
another guy.
the Penguins have the top three lines in hockey, and I mean, then you got Kunitz, Dupuis and Crosby's line, and Tyler Kennedy's going to skate on that line as the starting center tonight. And I mean, no, Craig, you know,
hold it. The game's just starting. 7:38, folks.
you know, you're not going to replace Sid Crosby, but I mean, they've got
Stay
the
here.
pieces in there to come out strong. And I mean, they should skate the Sabres out of the building. And I'm wondering, is Volkun going to put up his third shutout in a row?
They might.
You know what he
VC
did?
might, as they call him.
Tommy
here.
VC. Yeah,
Tommy V.
I
I
was
was
in
just
the-
Tommy V.
I was on Tommy V. I can go with that. I was in the center on Center Ave today at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Wow.
There was
Right.
three Center Ave, Lower Hill, down by the console. There was 3 blocks long of people standing in line, kids for the college kids that get the tickets at some sort of
They weren't waiting for free pizza?
or that.
Oh, they
But I
didn't
went-
get the free cakes today. Were you in Market Square?
I was drunk.
It was
as a
so
sore
crowded.
loser.
When I went to Zazu to get my hair cut by Marianne,
was
see
good.
Emilio down there. Just ask for Emilio because she's only there on Tuesdays. But they were giving cakes away, and it was just unreal. There were crowds waiting a half an hour to get these cakes, full-size cakes.
Then you heard about the guy, right?
Yeah.
The guy.
Tell them.
I don't recall where he's from. I'm thinking Duquesne, maybe not. But he broke through the ranks, grabbed 4 cakes, and ran away. Then he did get caught. I don't know. I didn't know the cakes were full-size cakes.
Yeah.
But they had
Well
10
thought out plan there.
They dropped 2. That's what happened. That's how he got caught.
Do you know there was 10,000 cakes being given away by that guy?
Yes.
10,000.
That just
Now,
speaks.
what's that? Somebody's giving away the cake eaters?
No, the Cake Boss.
Yeah.
Cake Boss.
Yeah, the Cake Boss. He's on the Food Network or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh, okay.
In Market Square today, folks.
But that just speaks to the obesity of the city of Pittsburgh, you know.
And
The
folks,
people
I want to
lining
interrupt.
up
We cover
for free
everything
cake.
here.
Yeah, that's true. We're
Well, let me ask you guys this. You know, I'm a big boxing fan, and I cover boxing, and I'm a boxing analyst, and I've never seen anybody get a broken jaw that it didn't come with a concussion? Do you think that they're hiding
Has
something?
to be. Has to be. Oh yeah. Because
That puck got to hurt
Yeah.
and hits the jaw.
Well,
I think it shattered his teeth, and depending on how a fracture, you know yourself, can be a little chip, or it can be, sorry, no offense, Chip, but it could be pieces of bone and everything else.
Well, it was
so,
like
I mean, there are different types
I heard an
when you have a
interesting.
fracture.
I heard an interesting interview today with Rick Tocchet. Okay,
boy.
Rick
I heard
Tocchet in
it too.
1992, he had a broken jaw, and he sat out for one shift, and he ended up going back into the game, and he was talking about how painful it was and his ability to play. And fortunately for him, his jaw was just fractured. It had not separated, okay? So they were able to put a piece of plastic there. And, hockey players are, I swear, they're the toughest athletes on the planet. These guys will play with compound fractures. But they say that Sid's, what happened was that right here in his jaw, that it snapped it clean. So they took a titanium plate and screwed it in to pull it together. The titanium plate can actually stay in. It doesn't have to be to be removed. So they said what that's going to do is that's going to speed his recovery up, and he's not going to have his jaw wired shut, which is going to enable him to take in nutrients so he doesn't lose all that weight. And they expect him to be able to practice. I know he's got more dental surgery to do this week.
He lost a lot of teeth on that one, too. They were flying out in the replays.
I believe it was 7.
Yeah,
Who's his
replays.
nutritionist? Floyd Mayweather? But
Probably
No,
Jay
Ray
Caulfield.
Lewis, because I heard there was a big run
there
on
you go.
the Antler underwear. So there were rumors last night that a lot of people are buying those.
Don't disparage
Guess what?
the
It's
kid.
confirmed now. It's all confirmed.
Hey, when I see
They're
Hor-
buying the Antler Fuzz underwear.
when I see horns on his helmet,
They'll be coming out of the jaw.
Sid is a good-looking man, and I'm not ashamed to say that, but was. Yeah, I'll tell you, his face is taking a beating, man.
Oh,
and that's
they-
on hockey players.
Hold it. Look at Big Ben. They reconstructed. Well, never mind. So,
There isn't a hockey player alive that's got a full set of choppers.
yeah. No, that's the nature of that sport.
Well, he had a broken nose this year, did he not? Or was it at some point he's had a broken nose? And
Not
now
this year.
then he got a big scar here or something, but his face is...
One little point about Tocchet before we leave. They said when they tried to x-ray his jaw is so thick that they couldn't really see what happened to it. So he's like, well, strap me up. I'm going back in.
And Tocchet, which kind of
That's
one of the
how
things that Tocchet spoke to was, look, this is my chance to win a Stanley Cup, and I may never get this chance again. Get me back out on the ice. And I think some of the guys that the Penguins brought in, Gilnia, Morrow, Murray, these are guys that have played their entire careers and have been dying for the opportunity to get a shot at that. And that's why I think the Penguins don't have anything to worry about with Sid being out right now, because you got some hungry veterans that know what it takes to get there, and we'll lay it on the line to bring home a cup.
And here's the other point. You have Smoking Jim Frazier, who's now a fan of the Penguins since, the Yarmur Yager
He's
days.
wearing the old blue. Wearing the old blue.
Definitely. Well, now he is, because you have another fellow on there.
Speaking of Yarmur Yager, it looks like the Penguins are going to get to see him again come playoff time. He got traded to the Boston Bruins, and the Boston Bruins are still feeling scorned because Gilnia came to Pittsburgh, and Bruins thought they had him all locked up. And unfortunately, when you've got a no-trade clause in your contract, you can pick and choose who you go to, and he chose to come here instead of going to Boston.
Well, think about, he had a no-trade clause, and then all of a sudden they asked him if it would be okay to trade him. Wouldn't that hurt your feelings there? So you're going to try to shop yourself around. So he actually manipulated his trade to go to a team that people want to be on now, which it's hard to believe here, but everybody wants to be on the Penguins. So Stanley Cup, here we come. Tonight, I'm sure they may not have to score right away, but they do that once in a while. So they'll get number 16 tonight. That's my prediction.
And
with the Chip.
here's a bit of useless trivia that I'd like to share with you guys, and especially you, Chip. Brooks Orpik, first slap shot ever, was also his last slap shot ever. And that was in the first 50 seconds of this past Saturday's game. It was his shot.
It deflected off of a stick, though.
But it was a slap shot.
pure accident.
You never see, I know that, but you never see Brooks wind up.
Right.
Isn't that ironic?
And that's why accidents happen. And then there's some crazy guys in hockey. I think Randy Carlyle made a quote that the hockey gods are punishing the Penguins because of all the talent they have. That's why Sid's out.
And you know
So-
what? And for
but that's
anybody,
crazy to
for
say
anybody
that.
to even hear anything from Randy Carlisle, he's going to make some comment out of his hind end to get any kind of press because he's a horrible coach. I mean, didn't he get fired for his lack of ability
Yeah.
to motivate his team?
Oh, he definitely did. But thanks for the trivia there.
Well, it was awesome. I'm watching it before I was texting.
What happened?
I keep him informed of the game just to make sure he's watching it or whatever's
Oh, do
going
you?
on. Yeah, and
that's
then
nice.
as soon as I saw Orpik take the shot, the next thing I saw was number 7 laying on his side, and I'm saying, well, number 7's out, Martin's out, so it has to be 87 that took it in the face, and it was Sid.
Gruesome.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see all that stuff that took place, but I certainly saw him going down, and I knew it was in the
He
face.
dropped like he got shot.
Oh, big time.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, he hit the ice immediately, and he knew it was bad.
Well,
You know, other
we've
local sports
yeah.
that we haven't even touched on yet.
that's why I got this blank spot here.
Yeah, we have the comings and goings at the University of Pittsburgh. What's going on there? We've got people leaving the basketball team. Trey Ziegler, who transferred into Pitt because his father, the coach at Central Michigan, got fired, and he actually got a waiver so that he was able to play this year. And he went from averaging 16 to 17 points a game at Central Michigan to coming to Pitt and averaging 15 minutes and 4-some points a game. So he's leaving the University of Pittsburgh. Russell Shell, Pennsylvania State High School rushing champion, has decided that he's going to go west. He's going to go somewhere else to play. And it's interesting that the lack of information that we're given about what's going on and why there. I mean, this just all sort of came up last week. Took a lot of people by surprise, and I heard some rumblings today that, you know, everybody's saying they thinking that Todd Graham had something to do with this because he's the man that recruited Russell Shell. But I heard an inference that possibly he might be interested in playing for Rich Rodriguez in Arizona because of one of his high school teammates and best friends is playing over there. So there's no idea where he's going to go. He's going to have to sit out for a year. And I was having a texting message with Jim last night. I think one of the valid points that he made is that, you know, this young man's going to sit for a year and he's going to lose his edge. He's going to get soft. And I understand that one of the comments made about him by one of the Pitt coaches that upset him was that he was soft. So, you know, maybe now his body will match his heart.
Yeah, but part of it going in, he had said he never lifted weights and that he was going to do it when he went to college. Obviously, that didn't happen. He still had the great speed and the moves, but he had a lot of emotional problems. And being a young kid
Well, you know,
with twin babies,
you know,
sort of
here's
makes
that
an
fun.
issue.
He's a 19-year-old boy, and I understand that, and he does have the right to go somewhere and play where he wants to be happy. You know, that is his right. And you know, everything that we're talking about is pure speculation. None of us know what the real story is. Paul Christ is not going to say anything else about it. He wished him well. You know, didn't really shed any light on this situation. He's probably, you know, put a gag order on his coaches. You're not hearing anything from Russell Shell, but you know, you're hearing people's guess at what they think it might be. So it's all speculation. We don't know, and you know, and I don't think we ever will. Not that it really matters, because you know what the Pitt football program has to do now is they have to carry on without him. And carrying on without somebody is going to be the Pitt women's basketball team. You know, the Pitt's
Nice
women's
segue
basketball
there.
coach was terminated today. And that's unfortunate for her because she took the Pitt's women's basketball team to 2 consecutive Sweet 16s in 2008 and 2009. Well, the unfortunate thing for her is that in the last 36 conference games that she played, Pitt is 0-36, and I think that
That might have helped.
prompted her exit. So the Pitt women's basketball team is now looking for a head coach, and that just makes me scratch my head. It's like, how is Steve Peterson keeping his job if there's all this turmoil in the program? I mean, they should be, you know, gearing up to play in the ACC. This is a big move, an improvement over the Big East. You know, I mean, as far as a football conference is, but you know, they got egg on their face.
Was the women's in the Big East also?
Yeah.
The women's, and
Well,
they lost 36.
36 consecutive
They
conference
never
games.
won a game in a
0 and 36.
Holy smokes!
Even Big Mike might have fired her.
Well, that just, Pittsburgh's not much of a basketball town to start with, but it's even less so of a women's basketball team.
Darn Imus didn't like pitch recruits.
Wait.
And we'll go into boxing now because I wanted to first give a shout out to Jimmy Savetic, who's going to be on our show next week. And we also had him on a show, and we also did a little combination with myself and Smoking Jim Frazier with Steel City Sports World and PCTV. We were at their boxing match and everything else, so we had a great time there. Jimmy was interviewed on there. He's a great guy to listen on interviews. And I want to thank Luther Dupree for filming that fight with us, Smoking Jim. And I know you'll be on Steel City Sports World tomorrow night. So all of you should watch that show. You'll see Smoking Jim Frazier, Luther Dupree. Is Kelly going to be on the show?
Kelly Russell will be there.
And Jimmy's going to be one of the guests. So all of you guys that are listening, Jimmy doesn't, I don't even think, have TV or internet or anything else. But you can call him if you have any questions about Golden Glove boxing. Jimmy Savetic, CVETIC, 412-298-7373. Ask him about tickets for any of the events there. He'll get you some tickets. You got to pay full price, but you'll at least get tickets from Jimmy there. I just wanted to give that shout out to him because he is Mr. Golden Gloves around here, and just being new to the sport where I'm actually, involved with a lot of these guys. A lot of the boxers are just fantastic people. Look at the gyms that we've had here.
Hey, a little
lot of
shout
great
out
guys.
to the 51 gym. The gentlemen, the coaches and the young fighters that we interviewed last week.
Ted and then little Teddy.
And I'm telling you what, there was just a laundry list of very, very impressive young men, and they're well coached, and they've got great attitudes, and they've got great outlooks on life, and you got to give credit to their parents and to their coaches.
And at Du Bois on, I think it's 7 p.m. this weekend on the 6th. There's going to be a bunch of the 51 gym guys, and you're going to have Jimmy Savetic's guys. There's going to be a lot of great boxing there. I don't think I'll make it out that way. It's a heck of a journey for us city folk here, but we'll do our best. But I did want to at least give that shout out. And it was a pleasure working with Luther Dupree. And I was filming, he positioned me in the right area and told me when I could talk, and that was hard to do. So. Smoking Jim, what else do you have on this boxing coming up here?
Well, I tell you what, I have a vision for boxing that I've gotten about 10 years ago when I got involved heavily in boxing, and since then I brought in Al Levine, the talking machine, because I want the green with Levine. But I tell you what, I tell you what, this boxing thing, I really believe that some of the greatest athletes in the world are in southwestern Pennsylvania, and some of the toughest guys are here. And I really believe that you don't have to be a champion and have to go out to Las Vegas, New York, California. I believe that the city of Pittsburgh is going to be the mecca of boxing, and thanks to BP TV and Al Levine, we're going to make it happen. And it may happen quicker than a lot of people think. I got to keep this under my hat. I can't really say too much, but look for Al Levine, the talking machine, BP TV, and Smoking Jim Frazier. We may even get some continents. We may get China and India and some Brazil. And
I thought she was your imaginary girlfriend.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I'll just tell you this much. No more of the imaginary girlfriends. Oh, she just left. Hey, Smoking will be out in about 5 minutes, girls.
But I tell you what, we are going to be, this is going to be a blockbuster thing. We're going to be part of a national reality TV series. They crisscross the whole country, and they bypass Chicago, California, Texas, and New York. And of all the gyms they looked at Jimmy Savetic's gym, and they decided to do a national reality TV show from Jimmy Savetic's gym. And Jimmy Savetic invited us to be a part of it. I can't wait. I can't wait to get to the Marine Corps girls. But as the weeks go on and on, we'll drop more and more stuff about the national reality TV series that me and Al Levine, the Talking Machine, will be part
That was
of.
awesome.
And
That's,
I'm
that's
excited
truly
about it.
awesome, man.
Stuff.
And we thank everybody here, like Devin Shea, Aaron Ward in the control room today. Devin's on the cameras, and he's so bored, folks, because he has this set up where he ran it a couple weeks ago with nobody in here. And I won't even reveal all the things he's doing because he's out of control here. But you can see how great I look on here. Oh, I chopped my head off a little bit, but that's okay. we thank Dave Cable for all of this too. So it's helped
absolutely.
us, and we like promoting a lot of people that do good in the city, and also business people, charitable organizations too. I know I do the infomercials, but it's out there to put that positive
Hey,
spin
and
out there for people too.
And how about put a little shout out to, our Western Pennsylvania world champion, Lightning Rod Sulka.
Yeah.
So we already do have a world champion in our midst, and a former world champion will be fighting Saturday night at the Harv in Whaley, West Virginia. That would be Paul Spatafort, the Pittsburgh kid. So let's wish him the best.
Hold it, here's late breaking
continued
news.
success.
Late breaking news on that. We got the insight. I asked Little Z if he could send us a few video clips up here like Dr. Trina Hess did at our boxing at the Royal Place. So Little Z said he's going to try to do that with technology. So we may have a couple snippets on Pittsburgh Sportsline on Facebook. And that'll be coming right from Mountaineer.
Wow, I'll drink to that. Go, Spatafort.
Hold it. They might want you to throw a couple dollars in the slots. Do you play blackjack by any chance?
I love. I can count to 21. But I tell you what, I'm looking we have to really. Can we talk to Dave Cable, because since I predicted that the University of Miami would win it all and they didn't get past the Sweet 16, can I get a 10-year contract extension?
I think you need to talk to Steve Peterson.
Yeah. You might have to do some negotiating on your own, and I don't think even I can help you, because luckily I didn't bet another house on that. But we'll have some fun. I want to give a shout out to all the fans with the Shockers. One of my best friends, Dave Brown from Wichita, was texting me and telling me that the Shocks, you better watch them. Wow. Even though he has Louisville in all of his brackets, he doesn't have the Shockers. He wishes he did pick them.
Do you know what the one thing that each of the Final Four teams this year have in common?
Black players?
No.
Yeah, good point.
They've all beaten the University of Pitt.
Really?
Year. They all beat Pitt this year.
Wow, Pitt is the stepping stone
Pitt
to the
is
Final Four.
I'm telling you
it.
what.
The first step.
Pitt finally got a part of the Final Four.
Yep. Every single team in the Final Four has beat Pitt this year.
Chip, you're throwing this trivia out like it's, I don't
Just
know
like
why
it's
this is-
candy,
Yeah, popcorn. It's like popcorn for the sports fans. He's popping out more trivia than I can even catch here. Can I take some notes? Oh, I dropped the green pen. I'll have to pick it up after the
Well,
show.
did you learn anything about tossing things when we're on the show?
No, that's one of the best things that happened there. Speaking of tossing, go to Pittsburgh Sportsline and see who struck out Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig in 1931, Big Mike. I'm not going to reveal it because you got to go to Pittsburgh
I
Sportsline.
read about that this morning before you posted on it. And the funny thing was is that Babe Ruth swung
We got Babe Ruth in. Big Mike.
swung feebly at the
Feeble.
first two pitches and watched a called third strike. And Lou Gehrig did the same thing. But yes, there's a young lady, and I forget her name.
Go to Pittsburgh
struck out
Sportsline.
Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig in one inning.
And there you go, folks. Thanks for watching the show.